The erection of the Berlin Wall obviously was a great statement, not just politically but physically, about dividing off the East from the West. It was an ominous development for the world. We thought we would live the rest of our lives with the tensions that had set in after World War II and the enormous ambitions of the masters in the Kremlin. We lived with the reality that there could be a thermonuclear exchange, and then suddenly it all began to change. There were enormous political pressures as well outside the gates of the Kremlin. The people in Czechoslovakia and Poland and Hungary, you could see that generation after generation as they came along, that they were not going to be tolerating the kinds of conditions that were being imposed on them. You couldn't have created in many ways a better working class hero than Lech Wałęsa. I once described him as a shipyard electrician who short-circuited the Soviet system. And as he built the pressure from the ground up in Poland, and in Czechoslovakia, Václav Havel was almost typecast for that country. He was a cultural and artistic hero. He showed enormous courage in standing up for human rights in Czechoslovakia, and just at the right time they had two men who gave voice to that. And then of course there was something else that happened. A Polish cardinal became the Pope. The military pressures of trying to keep up with the United States with the Strategic Defense Initiative, and Ronald Reagan coming to power as the President of the United States, determined to make not just a rhetorical stand against the idea of communism, but his entire career as a successful politician had been based in large part on "this will not stand."
Tear down this wall.
And Gorbachev, coming into power at that time, was not wedded to the policies of the past. So all the forces came into alignment at the right time. General Powell and Brent Scowcroft were both military men, but they were also great students of diplomatic power. And they had a grand vision about how the world could be. I went to Berlin the 2 days before the wall fell. The wall, as we have known it since 1961, can no longer contain the East German people. And when they came through that wall, they came from the darkness into the light. They came from one solar system into another, and they were all German people. That was a very delicate time. George Bush did not make an address to the country. He was very laid back in his observations and his reaction to it.
I think a lot of Germans who have felt penned in and unable to move are going to say, look, we can move, but wouldn't it be better to participate in the reforms that are taking place in our own country?
And they did that deliberately because they didn't want to make it more difficult for Gorbachev than it already was. Even after the wall fell in November 1989, it was by no means certain that Germany would be peacefully united a year later, a member of the European Union and NATO. And then the Soviet Empire collapsed a year after that. The Cold War was over. President Bush and Chancellor Kohl led the reunification of Germany from the West. No one had a greater vision or more imagination about how Germany could be reunited again than Helmut Kohl. President George H.W. Bush was a man who had a driving determination to see peace return. By honoring President Bush and Chancellor Kohl, the Council recognizes their exceptional leadership at a dangerous and exceptional time.